Whoa-oh. It looks like it's time for one of those topic discussions again. Well, I guess this sort of classifies as a news video as well. What? That was the best intro I could think of on the spur of the moment. Greetings, fellow Vita fans. This is James with PS Vita at 2 AM, and once again I'm coming at you with another exciting video. Well, as I just alluded to only moments ago, or seconds in some cases, depending on how you look at it, it is time for us to have one of those PlayStation Vita topic discussion video thingies that we do every once in a while. And this time, it's all about limited run games. Uh-oh, whoa-oh. And it might have something to do with the PlayStation Vita card shortage. Whoa-oh, whoa-oh. Okay, if you remember back at the end of last year, Josh Fairhurst had mentioned that they are running short on PlayStation Vita cartridges, and that not only were they dipping into the well of Western PlayStation Vita cartridges, but it turns out that developers might actually be all having to fight for the PlayStation cartridges worldwide, yes, even including Japan and the Asian territories. So for the longest time, the region that we had all thought was safe might not be quite as safe as we first anticipated. Kinda like visitors that come over to my house. The less you know, the better. Meaning that if that is in fact true, the supply is going to be dwindling more and more each day for everyone, not just the West. And unfortunately, because of that, the company had to put off as many as 10 plus Vita titles on hold while they were trying to hopefully get more PlayStation Vita cartridges. Because of all these situations, these shenanigans, if you will, involving physical cartridges. Now there has been a little bit of an update since then, because after around a month or so of Josh Fairhurst posting that Twitter post, he actually did a follow-up about a month or so-ish later. He went on to say, "Good news, we managed to get enough Vita carts allocated to bring back most of the projects we put on hold. Unfortunately, there are still some killer titles which didn't happen because of the contracts taking too long. That's a story for another time." He also went on to say, "This should allow our total Vita release count to hit 100. We were at 97 releases before we got the news of more Vita carts being allocated." I really like saying that word. It might even replace spelunky as being one of my favorite words to say of all time. Okay, so this caused many in the community to be very excited, including myself as well. In fact, I even heard some people saying that because of this news, we're going to get back all of the 10 plus Vita games that were put on hold / potentially canceled, and maybe get larger print runs for already planned titles. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news, and I guess I'm just going to have to mention the good news first. Normally I like to say the bad news just to get it out of the way and then end it on a good note, but I have to say it in this particular order, and you'll see why shortly. Yep, this gravy train ain't so full of gravy, at least not as much as we thought, because the gravy's gone kinda sour, and I've never been very good at metaphors like this. Because Josh and Doug recently did an interview on some Twitch channel that I'm not very familiar with. Special thanks to WowGak for actually leading me in the right direction for this. If it wasn't for you, man, I probably wouldn't have known this video even existed. Kinda like how all my exes treat me in real life. Ooh, that's a dark path we don't want to go down. However, someone in the chat asked them to go into a little bit more in-depth about the Vita cart shortage and the new allocation they got for the Vita carts. Woohoo! There's that word again. And this is where things took a little bit more of a nosedive, unfortunately. Josh had went on to say that yes, it is true, they have got more PlayStation Vita cartridges from publishers that never got around to using theirs. Why does P-Cube along with Omega Labyrinth Z come to mind all of a sudden? I'm picturing some sort of like huge warehouse with a bunch of empty cartridges that P-Cube is just shaking their fists at Sony that they were never able to use. Ahem. That being said, they're unsure as to where these came from, as Sony didn't go into details with them, but they do in fact have them. So I suppose you could say it's one of those don't look the gift horse in the mouth kind of deals. And he said that yes, it is true that we are going to be able to have larger print runs of upcoming releases. For example, Super Meat Boy was barely going to be teetering on 2,000 copies alone, and that's it. However, because of these extra carts they got in, they're going to hopefully be able to give us a little bit larger of a print run, so it's not a complete bloodbath trying to actually acquire a copy, even though I'm pretty sure it's still going to be a bloodbath. But you know, it'll be less of a bloodbath, I guess. Maybe only a few pints lost instead of gallons. Yeah, I'm definitely not good at metaphors. However, they did ask him, well, what about the 10 plus Vita games? And he went on to say that unfortunately many of those 10 plus games will still be canceled, which kind of confused me at first, because if you look again at his Twitter post, he said that they're going to be able to bring back most of the projects that they put on hold, which I was assuming was the 10 plus games, but I guess for some weird reason now they're not. But he also went to say on in this video that they're still going to be canceling 10 plus games, so maybe it was 20 overall. Maybe 10 got brought back and 10 still got canceled. I don't know. That's just an assumption on my part. I mean, we don't know the actual count, so 10 plus games could really mean anything. And he said this wasn't exactly due to the cartridge shortage per se anyway, it was more due to the deadline that Sony had given them to put in their orders. And that there was even some PlayStation Vita releases that the devs weren't even focusing on anymore. They were focusing more like on the PlayStation 4 and Switch versions of the games, and leaving the PlayStation Vita for last. So by the time the Vita version was ready, the deadline would be long passed over with. And I have an upcoming video that goes a little bit more into detail on what game that is, for an example, but I'll save that for another time. He did ensure though that the House of Fata Morgana is still coming, and also that Sharon no Kuni is not quite finished yet, so they're still hoping that maybe they can try and get that game out in time by maybe striking a deal with some of the Asian distributors out there, maybe to get some Asian cartridges or something like that. That's all he kind of said, but he is really determined to bring out that game, which is really great for me because that was one of my highly anticipated games for limited run. Make it happen, Josh. Make it happen. Oh, and I will have a link down in the description below for you guys to check out that video yourselves. He talks about the Vita card shortage around 13 minutes into the video or so. I'll have a timestamp linked with it too. So it's a bit finicky now as to what's going to happen, because even if you look at upcoming releases like Fernsgate, for example, which is actually a past release, even though at the time I'm making this video it hasn't been out yet, but that's time travel for you. The print run for that game didn't really get much of a significant boost. Granted, they probably already had the official copy release set in stone before the allotment came to limited runs. Point well taken. So it does kind of beg the question now, what exactly is going on here? He's saying that there are still 10 plus that are canceled, but yet they were still able to bring back some of the projects, so it definitely makes an interesting talking point though, I gotta say. But hey, hitting 100 PlayStation Vita games, that's awesome. Definitely gonna be a milestone, and I'm really proud of them for actually accomplishing such a feat. Okay guys, now I need to scratch your brains on this. What do you think all of this means? Which titles do you think will end up being cancelled? Which titles do you think will end up being saved? Do you think there's a possibility they might even get more cartridges in sometime in the future? What games are you hoping are preserved, and which games are you hoping get cancelled because maybe they weren't as a priority on your list? Be as detailed as you want down in the comments below. And as always, fellow Vita fans, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It really means a lot to me. Love you all, and I'll see you next time. The following video has been brought to you in part by Adam Theory, Saul Ramirez, Heston Joseph, and all of these wonderfully generous people over at Patreon. I have a number of exclusive perks available for backers, so if you're interested in supporting the channel, come and join our little Patreon family where we have cake and punch and cookies. Note, cake, punch, and cookies may not be offered.